Hello friends, this is your Renu ma'am and today I will be discussing with you in detail about the terms transactions and events. These two terms are considered quite basic, but several of us don't have clarity on what it actually means. In my first session, I discussed with you the term accounting. I told you that accounting is a process. It involves several steps. And the first step of accounting was identification of transactions and events. So for that purpose, let us understand what do we mean by transactions and events so that we can understand what we are trying to identify. Now, to understand this, I'll give you an example. Suppose there was one Mr. Ramlal from, say, Rajasthan, who came to Mumbai and he has established a cloth business. He has taken a shop on rent and he is doing cloth business. He sells ready-made cloth to the ultimate customers, ready-made garments. Now, he along with him got his nephew Sohan from his native. And Sohan here is going to assist Mr. Ramlal in his business. So whenever Ramlal has to be out of the shop, say to get the supplies for his shop, Sohan would totally take over. And at other times when there are more customers, he will be helpful in attending to the customers. Now, Ramlal started the business by introducing capital. Say he brought in capital of rupees 10 lakhs. He used around 1 lakh rupees for furnishing the business, doing the interiors of the retail outlet. Then he spent, say, 5 lakh rupees for purchase of the ready-made garments. He goes to the wholesale where he can get it at lesser price. He will add his margin and sell it. So he would be making sales on everyday basis. He would be also incurring expenses, say related to rent. Suppose he has hired that shop for 10,000 rupees per month. He has to pay rent. He pays salary to his employee right now only Sohan, say rupees 10,000 per month. And he would have several other expenses of doing the business. Now maybe say after say couple of months, suddenly Sohan has a family crisis and he has to return back to his native place. So this is a major event in the business. Now Ramlan is left alone to take care of the business. The most dependable nephew Sohan is no longer there. Of course, he might be replaced by another employee, say Rohan. He is a native of Mumbai, so he is a local boy who has been hired. Now, Sohan has been replaced by Rohan, so now the work will go on. But the loyalty with which, the dedication with which Sohan was working, the same thing might not be there with Rohan because Sohan had a family connection with the business. So now, out of these several activities, actions that have taken place here, all these are actually events. But out of this, these are certain things which have a financial impact. They have a financial effect on the business. Like here, 10 lakh is coming into the business, 1 lakh has been spent on interiors, 5 lakh being spent on purchase of those ready-made goods, ready-made items that he is going to sell. There is going to be several sales being made during the year. He has to pay rent. Again, 10,000 per month will be going out of the business. salary has to be paid every month to the employee for the work he's doing. So all these have a financial impact. However, there is one of this event of Sohan leaving the business after a couple of months. So this is an event where you cannot measure it in terms of money. In the long run, it might have an impact. If Sohan had stayed back, then probably the business would have flourished much more better than without him. So in the long run, it might show some financial impact, but in the immediate, there is no financial effect that is shown because he is replaced immediately with another help role. So to understand this distinction, we will also tabulate the points of distinction and make the points of differences much more clear. So for students who want, they can note down these. I am even writing the technical meaning of these terms. So what is the meaning of the term event? All the incidents or occurrences that relate to or have an impact on the business, they are called as events. So there are several instances or occurrences that keep occurring in the business that relate to the business that have impact on business. Yes, so when leaving is going to have impact on business, but immediately there is no financial impact. But when we talk about transaction, these are the events, means they are the instances or occurrences which have immediate impact and measurable impact. You can even measure it in terms of money. Like when purchase of 5 lakh is made, the businessman has to pay, Ramlal has to pay immediately 5 lakh, or probably if it is purchased on credit, a liability would be created to extra 5 lakh which he has to pay at a later date. But still, there is an immediate impact of at least liability being created, and you can measure it. Measure this particular event that has occurred in the business in terms of money. So it is a measurable impact. Second point of difference, how we can differentiate, is events do not involve exchange of resources. Now, Sohan leaving the and going back to native is an event where you don't see any impact on the resource. But when there is a purchase or when you have to pay rent, it does have an impact. Therefore, transactions involve exchange of resources. So when goods are purchased, goods come in and cash or money flows out of the business. So there is exchange of resources found when it is a transaction. Third point of difference is that these events are not immediately measurable in terms of money. Like Sohan leaving and going back to his native, you cannot measure in terms of money. His loyalty, his dedication, which would have brought so much profit if he had stayed back, that cannot be immediately measured in terms of money. In the long run, you might not be having as flourishing a business if he had stayed back. But you cannot immediately measure it in terms of money. But transactions are measurable in money terms. Like if you make a purchase, you know you have to pay exactly how much amount, 5 lakh rupees. If you hire that shop on rent, you know you have to pay 10,000 rupees per month. If you hire an employee, you know you have to pay salary, and in this case 10,000 per month. So it is totally measurable in money terms. The effect that is there of events, normally it is seen only in the long run. You find the impact. But for transaction, it is immediate. you find the immediate effect. As soon as you purchase goods, liability is created to pay. You have to pay immediately or pay at a later date. These events that we're talking about are not recorded in the books of accounts. So Sohan, going out back to his native, does not appear in the books of accounts. You don't pass an entry for that. You cannot. And you don't. But for transaction, they are recorded in the books of accounts. Like all your transactions that we have referred to here, like the purchase, the sales that take place on everyday basis, the rent being paid per month, salary being paid per month, the amount spent on interiors, all these are going to get recorded in the books of accounts. You'll be passing entries for those. And finally, we'll understand it with an example. Few example is death of a skilled or a key manager, or as in the case I gave you where the employee Sohan, the nephew, had to leave because of family crisis and couldn't come back. He is a key employee. He is very skilled. He is loyal. His loyalty and dedication makes him a key employee. If he leaves, then that is going to have an impact in the long run. Not having a loyal, dedicated employee does have effect in the long run. Another example we can give is of employees going on strike. So, in the long run, it will have an impact. Now, examples of transaction, all your transactions where it involves money, like your purchases, your sales, your rent being paid, and other expenses being paid, where resources are being exchanged, where money is getting exchanged. Those are examples of transactions. So basically, all transactions are events, but all events do not become transaction. Only those events which you can measure in terms of money, which involve exchange of resources, which have immediate impact and which get recorded in the books of accounts, are termed as transactions. So these are the points of distinctions between events and transaction. That's it, my friend. I hope today's session was useful to you. Stay home, stay safe. Thank you.